Welcome, everybody. This is the Enterprise Networking Day 2 VT Live event, and this morning we're going to kick off with the SD-WAN and routing innovation. I'd like to welcome to the stage Hassan to kick off the session.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for the time. And look, this is 75 minutes of routing in SD-WAN. I think we have the entire team here. We have like Ramesh sitting here who headed our product management for Viptela. We have got Rohan who runs our SD-WAN, Matt, Kurali, Stefan, so Nicola. So we have the whole team here to answer a lot of your questions. But I'll just take 3 or 4 minutes to just level set a few things. Look, a year ago, the routing business was in trouble. Right? We were declining double digits. We had acquired a fantastic company with great technology, but the integration was not done. And the two-box solution was an option, and most of the customers said that that is not the way to go for them. We were facing a lot of pressure on the low end of the market. We did not have the right price. We did not have the right performance. The 800 product line was very old. There were multiple transitions happening in the market. New control points like cloud edge emerging, security and WAN optimization markets were converging, and we needed to have an answer on what is our strategy to address these trends. And lastly, virtualization was taking off, especially with every single managed service provider trying to get agility and flexibility in the network, trying to go and offer a service which is a virtual service. And we needed to give a clear direction on where we stand. I am very excited about this VT today, and so should you be, because the team is now going to come and talk a lot about the answers to these questions. We'll have spent the 1 year building the strategy on these fronts. We do believe not everything is solved, but we feel that we are headed in the right direction. And not only that, the business is starting to show those results as well. Right? Q4 was the first time that the routing business grew in 2 years, in 8 quarters. Not only did it grow, it grew 20% year over year, which was the highest growth rate in 16 years. Like SD-WAN had a blowout quarter, 134 million in software bookings, with the largest SD-WAN deal in the history of the SD-WAN market itself. Right? The SD-WAN customers grew to 800. Our enterprise edge market continued to do extremely well with 4% year-over-year growth. And look, we introduced the 1100 platform, which is our volume platform at the low end. And we are closely tracking deals with all of you. And we are at 12-0, we believe, against Huawei in any deal that we go head-to-head with. So I just wanted to say, on behalf of the BE, Andre, on behalf of sales, right, for giving us this great momentum. So I just wanted to basically give you guys a round of applause. And look, this is just the start, right? We have some momentum. I think there is backing in the company behind this business. There is a lot of investment that we are making in order to show her up. A lot of time, right, we talk about this as fiscal year 19 planning cycle. We are getting more investments in order to shore up this business, bring new innovation to the table. And I think I'll let Andre, Nicola and Stefan run the show here. But a few things that I just wanted to talk about, that when we did this acquisition a year ago, a lot of you were skeptical, right? This integration, is it going to happen? Is it going to work? And, given some of the history, that's understandable. But I can tell you that we have worked extremely hard on this. We shut down the company. All of the engineers go home, enjoy time with their family. There was one team that was here. During Christmas, during New Year's, that was working even 6 months ago to make this work. And that was the team that was working on this Viptela integration. Right? So we were taking it seriously all along. The focus was on quality. It was not on quantity. And we did EFTs with 15 customers. We have initial deployments that are starting to happen this week. Some of you have questions. Some of you have reservations. And Nicola is going to talk about all of them. And we want you to walk away We walk away as a team where we are basically getting you comfortable with what you can sell right on this particular front. Not only that, we have made investments to further this, right? This integration is done, but we needed to make sure that we move on the innovation front. So there is a huge launch that is happening in November at Partner Summit. Most of you must have heard about Great Wall, which is how are we bringing security with an SD-WAN together. And I think Gurali is going to spend a lot of time on sessions on that front. We are also making investments to shore up this new control point in the network. You'll hear about a concept called Cloud Dock today. And not only that, on the platform side, we continue to make a lot of inroads. You will hear about the fastest, the most scalable branch router. You'll hear about the tiny but mighty versions of 1100 and what we have done at the lowest end. If you are facing Huawei at the low end, if you're facing even regional competitors like Yamaha and WAN Access, I think we are introducing those solutions. So thank you very much for the time. It should be a very exciting session. And with that, I'll get Nicola up and talk about the SD-WAN roadmap.
Thanks, Hassan. Appreciate this. Good morning. My name is Nikolai Pitaev. I'm technical marketing engineer responsible for Cisco SD-WAN. And you saw yesterday on the left side topology and end view during Sachin's presentation. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to talk about 6 key areas, 6 key innovation areas we have on SD-WAN. That's security, cloud, we have some SD-WAN core, we have App QE, application quality of experience. And before doing this, I just want to spend 2 times on very important topics. Because 5 years ago, I was pre-sales SE, visiting SEVT, and I was always requesting 2 things. Point number 1 is, we listen to you. We hear you message from the field to the business unit. And point number 2 is more technical details, use cases from the business unit explaining what we are doing and why on the technical side, not marketing, technical. Now I have a chance to deliver it. So basically, let me start with top of mind field objections we receive. And we have 3 different blocks. We have features. It's parity between VH and CH. It's about speed, 1 block. Then we have migration. It's too complicated. We don't have right documentation. That's a 2nd block about migration to SD-WAN. And last but not least, software. Hey, what's about Jira and CDATs, cases, troubleshooting, licensing, P&P? All this is block number 3. In this maintenance session, I will not be able to address any single question. We don't have time for this. But I want to provide you materials, pointers, slides that will be for your reference slide, addressing every single point you see here. So basically, idea is to present 1 key message slide, which I want you to remember, for example, for security, followed by, for your reference slide, providing more details, links, documents, which you can follow up offline. So we really hear you and we listen to you. And 2nd slide, before I will jump on into technical details on SD-WAN innovations, is about XE SD-WAN validation status. As Hassan mentioned, we have more than 15 evaluations in flight. And you see here customer logos, but you see also SE names. I think it's really important to talk from SE to SE directly, not via business unit. You can chat with Phil, you can ask Barry, Syed will provide updates. So that's why we have names on that slide. If you need more information about this particular use case, you see an example on the right side having XE SD-WAN routers, ISR 4Ks at the branch locations, and VH physical routers, VH1000, VH2000 on the data center side. Please don't use this slide with logos as an external reference. This is internal only. For you, if you need more details, just talk to the guys you see here. All right. And now, basically, let's go to the technical details, and let's talk about 6 key innovation areas for the next 20 minutes. And then Stefan will jump on and continue with platform update, which will also include SD-WAN performance numbers per box. Let me start with SD-WAN core features and back to GSX. And in all EBCs, we always have a question, what's about EIGRP? I think you all know 2 use cases. It will be EIGRP on the data center side, what you see on the left, and then you see EIGRP on the right. It's straightforward. The question is when. EIGRP v4 will be in March. EIGRP v6 is a roadmap, means after March. IPv6 on the LAN side is really strong, what we bring in the next phase. We have a lot of services like DNS, SSH, etc., coming in the next release, layer 2 and layer 3. I think the main question, what is not coming right now? And I think 2 key points which are really important for you. This is multicast, which will be after March. And this is OSPF. That's what you see here, OSPF v6 as a roadmap item. In terms of transport side, so all right, we have strong story for IPv6 on the LAN side. What about transport? In March, we provide IPv6 passenger and v6 transport. We provide dual stack. I think this is really strong, and I don't think any big problems with IPv6 on both sides, on the LAN side and on the WAN side. And the use case is straightforward. We have both, and it's basically up to your customer to decide what to do. 2 for your reference slides. As I mentioned, this is about XE SD-WAN offering today, followed by second for your reference slide, which is what is coming when. Remember the top of mind objection from the field, features. This is our answer. This is how we address. If you need more information, talk to us. This is basically your source to understand what is available right now, what is not, what is coming. Next very important question is about, all right, I do have clarity what is available now, what is coming next. But we have some features like security, like WAN optimization, like voice, which is not supported now. And the main question from you is, well, what shall I do? For security, we have SD-WAN security coming in November. Let me just have a small break and talk about naming. Probably you will hear Great Wall. You will not find Great Wall in the slide deck. We call it SD-WAN security. Then you hear CH. You will not find CH here. This is what we call XE SD-WAN. So sometimes, I'm from Russia, and we all confused Russians as well, because even I got a question, hey, what's about Cloud Lock? And I was struggling because we have Cloud Dock and we have security, so I'm trying to figure out what it is. Main point is CH is what you see here as XE SD-WAN. Great Wall, this is SD-WAN security. Back to this 2-box solution question. What does it mean, 2-box? I need 2 routers. That can be physical, 2 physical boxes. That can be virtual, having 2 VNFs, virtual network functions, doing the same job, same 2-box solution. All details, How does it work? What's about scale? Features. This is in that white paper we posted on CCO, external document you can share with your customers. This is about two-box solution. What's about policy-based routing? What's about scale of it? This is what we have for you in order to help you if your customer is telling you, hey, I cannot wait for your roadmap. I need a two-box solution now. One small but very important tool is configuration converter. What if you have existing ISR 4K, existing XE device running on the customer side and needs to be converted to XE SD-WAN? Software upgrade is one thing, but configuration is a second topic. We have a tool where you can upload your configuration, and the tool will highlight line by line not supported features. So you will change this. You have the ability to go back and forth and change your configuration. And then, that's basically my favorite step, is the tool will do an API call to a vManage and create a device template for this device. Well, given you have connectivity, otherwise you have to download a template and install it manually. Back to top-of-mind objection. Remember I mentioned P&P, complexity, it's not easy, how does it work, and what's about validated profiles. That's for your reference slides. Please have a look at the frequently asked questions and CVP. Second topic, security. XE SD-WAN. Why we are doing this? What's the use case? You see typical branch location, you have employers, you have guests access, and then they go two ways. They go to the data center to the right, and they go to the cloud, direct internet access to the left. The use case number one is basically cloud and direct internet security, where you need firewall, you need DNS layer security, and intrusion prevention system. Straightforward. I think you all understand this use case. Second use case is industry compliance, where you need firewall and IPS. And then you have guest services, where you are adding URL filtering. That's all is coming in November. If you need more technical details, we have a dedicated session for it, and we can talk for hours and hours with Corelli about this topic. And then in 2019, we have AMP coming. That's also really important. I think you know this already. I mean, you cannot avoid Great Walls or XE security slides, so you should know this. For your reference slide, this is basically a roadmap explaining which platform and what's about enterprise firewall, which is app-aware, all these details, extra session. Application quality of experience. What is the main goal, or what is the definition? For me, I define App QE as a set of SD-WAN features to address key 3 points, like latency problem, packet loss, especially on unreliable WAN links, and optimized bandwidth caching. One point which we are bringing in November and in March is forward error correction and packet duplication. And it's actually a very simple feature. You all know XR function, so we are sending 4 packets from left to right. Now I will send packet number 5, which is my parity packet, and the size of this packet is exactly equal to the biggest packet from out of 4. And then using XOR function on the receiver side, I can reconstruct the sequence if one packet will be lost. Straightforward, very simple. We do some more tricks, but let me tell you one story. Last week, an SE from UK calling me saying, hey, I have a customer project facing VeloCloud competition. And customer is asking about forward error correction, packet duplication. I need to demonstrate this. So we did a write-up. We created a demonstration just with Spirent sending traffic from A to B. We introduced packet loss on this link. 10 minutes. Result was customer moved to the next stage, agreed to POC. It's all good. VeloCloud is not really stressing this as a pain point for us. But forward error correction is just one piece of the app QE. It's not the same. For your reference slide, you will see a lot of other features we are bringing and having on the roadmap, like TCP session persistency, like Viptela QE-based routing on Radar. Not coming in March, coming later, but this is actually, it's a table. It's not really nice, but this is, for me, the best explanation for app QE. All right, cloud. CSR was XESD-WAN. This is for sure one topic for cloud, but I would like to talk about Cloud Dock. What if your customer will tell you, well, yes, I understand you're bringing security, but it's still not enough for me for direct internet access server? What if your customer is running security and cloud stack and colocation, and they have regions? And what if secure agile exchange is too flexible, too powerful, and the customer wants simplified and prescriptive solution? In this case, you see the Cloud Dock architecture, where you have SD-WAN fabric on one side, and then you have colocation, CSP, Catalyst, orchestrated by vManage. You see vManage on the right side, and this is basically the key point, because this vManage will do SD-WAN, and you see OMP, that's our protocol for SD-WAN fabric. But then you have also the blue line, which is netconf, orchestrating the stack in colocation. That's the main idea. That's the main use case for Cloud Dock. And as I mentioned, that will be a different name, SD Network Edge. That will be the official name for Cloud Dock. Details for your reference slides, it's about components like CSP, Catalyst. You will find a lot of details for service chaining, multi-tenancy is a roadmap. That's basically all what you want to know about Cloud Dock. Sachin talked yesterday about SDA, SD-WAN integration. Victor will have dedicated session for that. So I just want to highlight this. ISR 4K, ASR 1K will be SD-WAN Edge and SDA border node in March. So you see transit SD-WAN in the middle, and you see DNA Center and vManage. And the blue line is actually API call. Back to GSX, always the question was, hey guys, what's about DNA Center and vManage integration? Do you have use cases? How can you explain it to me? That's the explanation. So we have vManage and DNA Center for SDA integration. That's a use case. And again, I don't want to dive into this because Victor will have, I think, 2 hours explicitly on SDA. Key message here is today we have 2-box solution with independent orchestration. Tomorrow, means March, we have single box with API between vManage and DNA Center. And future will be single box solution with single orchestrator. Last block. This is operations and analytics. And I would like to start with AVC. We have 4 main points. First, packet match for cloud applications. It's not easy, but it's really important to be able to recognize the flow not from the packet number 10, especially if you have network address translation in the game. That's too late. A lot of customers, they They're asking for first packet match. Second point is first packet match for known applications. That's November. One non-trivial technical question is, what if you have two different routers on the branch and you have asymmetric flow? So you will go up on router A and then you will go down on the router B. Asymmetric flow. How can I recognize the flow? We have a solution for that. And last but not least, always the question is about custom application. Hey guys, I understood you have a lot of predefined applications, that's fine, but I want to be able to define my own custom apps. That's what you see on the right side, number 1 on vManage. And then basically you'll be doing policies based on custom applications on the branch. That's targeted for July. Last feature I have for you in that block is network design, which is coming in November on vManage. You will need 10 clicks to deploy a single SD-WAN network. One feedback we received from you is, well, templates are fine, but I would like to have a kind of Visio canvas in vManage where I will see my network. This is Visio canvas in vManage. Roadmap is for your reference. You will see on the left side 6 innovation areas I just presented. And you will have a lot of information for November, March, and future releases on that roadmap. Before I will hand over to Stefan, 2 slides. If you need more training, we have, I think now it's already almost 40 hours of different videos, grouped in 6 different blocks. It's free to Cisco internal employees. We have around about 20 registrations per day. We started recently, and we have already 700 internal and 200 partners registered and doing this video mastery collection. So if this is not enough, talk to me. It's like 1 week non-stop, right? And partners, I think there's a special product ID. They can also get this training if they want. We have a lot of sessions during this week, starting from migration back to this top-of-mind objection. Migration will be covered in a dedicated session with all details. We have 2 hours just for migration. And then a lot of different sessions running this week. You know this. It's already well known. And let me conclude with 3 key takeaways for SD-WAN. I think we are really leading SD-WAN with latest innovations. No question about that. And XE SD-WAN, that's what we call internally CH, is really ready for prime time. You saw customer logos in the beginning. We are doing this really hard. And there's no excuses. I cannot sell SD-WAN giving collaterals at the new routing Cisco.com site, Sales Connect, all the details we have. So this is basically my main message to you. This week, please use time. If you have any concerns, talk to us. And don't leave San Jose if you still have concerns like I cannot sell SD-WAN. It's still questionable for me. Talk to us this week. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Morning, guys. I'm back. Yay! So I'm the one who's going to talk to you about some interesting stuff we have on the platform side. Anyone here? How many here have not seen me before? Ooh, one hand. Okay. It's the first time? Okay. Yeah, I'm Stefan Manson. I'm the TME for the ISRs, the platforms, particular focus on that part. So I'm going to talk to you today about the platform part of this whole story here. So we have this, Nikolai just talked about the solutions. I'm going to talk about what we have going on in the platform side, because boy, have we been busy. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out now at this time. And we've been running around like headless chicken trying to make all this work here. So we're going to talk about, first of all, how many of you watched the mini-series we did on 4461? A few hands. Thank you. Thanks. You did that. Thank you. Far too few, I think, but you guys, good. So I sort of suspected that. So we're going to do a short mini cap on what we talked about in that mini series. We're going to talk about the 4461 and the 1100s, the small versions of it, because these are important boxes here. I'll tell you why in a minute. We're also going to talk about 1100 updates here. You might have seen that update before. You know the 1100. You have this 1100 models here. Do you think these guys stop there? Not just no, hell no. There's a lot of new boxes coming out. We're going to go through them. Really exciting stuff here coming out to that. We're going to talk about, now that we have started to do the testing on SD-WAN on our ISRs, we have actually finished those first tests now with the first platform that has it supported, and I'm going to show you the test results here. They actually came out better than we expected, which is really, really good. And then we're going to talk about a new baby here. What Hassan was telling us about before that was, how do we meet the competition from good enough products? The ones that are good enough, the Huawei's, the Yamahas, the One Axis of the world, and those. How do we do that? We have had all kinds of products here, some of them more suitable than others. ISR 900 will actually fit that bill really, really well, and it's coming out to a Cisco office near you, close sooner than you think. And then we're going to do a little bit of an ASR 1K update. They got some exciting stuff there as well in terms of some new ESPs and some new EPAs, and that's where we're going today with EPAs and some new cool features from that. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and then some other small stuff we need to talk about. Is that good? Cool. Let's run into this. First, a few messages from us. When you present the portfolio, we have these slides in 50 million different versions. Most of them are incorrect today. So I want you to be careful when you use these, to use the right slide and set the expectations here. A couple of things I want to point out with this slide here. 1100 series. That is put in some of the slides as a 350 meg router. That's not true. You should put what it really can do, which is 1.5 when you do IP router. We have to play the same game as the competitors when we present this to customers. They will not present this with a lot of restrictions and stuff that turned on. This 1100 with just IP routing on and light services will do 1.5 gig. Not bullshitting you here. It will do. Use that. 4000 series, usually I'll put at 2 gigs. Yeah, that's old. You have to use the one that says 10 gig, because that's actually how much a 4000 can do today, which will kick ass with the competition here. So we need to have that. And as of December this year, just in a few weeks almost, a month and a half, you'll have to have the ISR 900 here, which is another platform. This is the platform we are using now to do two things: to beat competition from good enough products and to replace the somewhat now aging 800 series, the smaller ones of those. And I'm going to talk about more in detail about that product. And look at the speed of that, 250 megs. This is actually with IPsec. This is 250 megs of IPsec. Any one of you who worked with this for a while know that if you can do 250 megs with IPsec, how much can you do without it? Yeah, that is a fast router. So use that one, first of all. Use this slide when you do the lineup. This is a new lineup slide. We also have these in different variations, and you will find them everywhere. Try to use this one. You can remove the stamps and stuff, but use this lineup here. The important part of this slide is that these routers all have the same architecture. First of all, the 1100 series is there with us on the small branch routers here, or the branch routers. So that should be in the slide deck here. the 1100, and also use all the platforms we have today, 4221 and 4461, because that sets the agenda where Cisco is. We are anywhere from 1 gig now up to 10 gig in the branch routing section, which is good to have there. So use all these platforms and make sure that you have them with the right performance part here. So some of them have the old ones where we have the cap performance. With Boost, that's no longer true. There's an option today to run significantly faster than this. This is a kick-ass good slide here. The 4300 series are already doing SD-WAN and can be put in today with SD-WAN environments here. The 4400 series, it's on the roadmap at least, so you have to change this if you talk about it. As of January, we're starting to test the 4461s, 4400 series with SD-WAN. So they will be coming as well. Just a little messy for me. Now this baby, my little baby here, 4461. We talked about this in the mini-series and presented this. So I'm going to do a slightly shorter recap. I talked about that for 40 minutes and 45 minutes in the mini-series. I'm not going to spend 45 minutes on it here. But nevertheless, give you an idea what we try to do with the 4461. This is the 3-rack unit 4000 router we never thought we would have to build. But we built it nevertheless, because we have requirements from the market for such a router. And we listened to the market when we did it. We had basically 2 basic requirements that we had to do our homework, and we got all time and again. One requirement was mainly from K-12 schools, the school districts in the US, which is about bandwidth and throughput and horsepower. Those schools now, some schools are very forward-looking here in the U.S. I have never heard anyone anywhere else in the world I've been doing the same thing. They're reading of school books completely. Instead of having school books, they're arming each student with an iPad in the entire school district. May that be middle school, high school, everything, which is really, really cool. Because not only have you the obvious benefits of that being that you don't have any more stale school material, you have changes to school material, can shoot it out to all the students at the same time, those kind of things, yeah, fine, that's one of them. But the big thing here is learning, because kids today are not used to black and white textbooks. How many of the kids today in grade 8 or 9 or something have ever taken this mossy old black and white textbook and started to read that? No one. They don't use that for learning or for information consumption. They use this baby. This is what they use. This is what they are used to looking at when they're consuming information. So by doing this, we can accommodate this kind of learning even in the schools, all the way up from first grade up to the high school grade, which is really cool, so I can understand why they're doing this. With that, however, comes a few challenges. You can imagine the security challenge when you have 4,000 high school students all armed with an iPad. Yeah, that's something to bite over. And the amount of repeated traffic. When you have hundreds and hundreds of students at the same time trying to reach the same content on the web, on the cloud here. Those are excellent sales opportunities for us. Man, that's just fantastic. But there's another thing. Massive amount of traffic all this produce, right? So they told us the schools, they have a budget on a shoestring a little bit. They can, even if they want to put an ASR 1K in every single school they have in the entire school district, there is simply enough money for that. They have enough money for an ISR G2, but no, ISR, sorry, but not for maybe for an ASR. So they asked us, Cisco, can you please help us here? Because we are now looking at sub-rates of 10 gigs. For each of the bigger schools, we order 10 gig WAN offerings. We have sub-rates of that, but ISRs can't do more than 1 or 2. And that was the time before we had Boost. So we took that, okay, we'll see what we can do. Give us something that can do at least sub-rates of 10 gigs at a cost of an ISR. That was one thing. So that was bandwidth, right? The next requirement of the two, or the most prominent of those, have no real need for bandwidth at all. They couldn't give a rat's behind about bandwidth, to be honest. For them, it was all about real estate. These guys here, our friends in the military, they want to put, believe it or not, they put ISR router in everything that moves. Basically, you would be surprised to see where we have our boxes in it. And they have built their equipment around the ISR routers, and will keep building it around the ISR routers. They want to have as much as possible into as little space as possible here. They asked us, can we please help them do that? One of their nirvana was to have a router with a 48-port switch and a big 12-core server blade in it that can virtualize the crap out of everything they have. That would be nice. So we took that homework as well with us home and said, okay, 2 big modules, 2 double-wide modules, how can we solve that? There's some challenges to that, because you can't really build a chassis with 2 double-wide modules without it becoming wobbly and all kinds of stuff like that. So then we had financial. Financial is the same thing. They were really enticed by the vSAN story we have on the UCSU blade. But with that comes 2 server blade modules. And if you're going to do 2 modules in a 4451, you can only fit 2 single-wide modules. That means 2 6-core modules. They said, not enough. We need more horsepower than that from the servers. 8 cores, 12 core would be fine, but they're all double-wide. So can we solve that? That's another little homework we had. How can we do that kind of thing? The result is this. The 4461, and that is available now for ordering. Oh, my text got all messed up here, but okay. It's supposed to say orderable now, available in November, just you know, verbally now. And this is a 3-rack unit, 4000 router. Basically, it's a pimped up version, greatly pimped up version of the 4451. Same router otherwise. And notice a new picture for you who have seen it. You don't have to put up with my Photoshop mock-up anymore. This is a real router I actually took a photo of here. Yay. This router can do, look at the throughput requirement here. 1.5 gig in its default. We're going to do 3 gigs of performance, and when you turn off that shapers and you turn on boost on it, it will do 10 gigs plus with light services. Bloody hell. This is one heck of a fast router. 7 gigs with IPsec. We did that, so we got the throughput checked. Now about interface density then. Well, we have 2 double seatings here underneath it with the 2 rack units, so we actually can do 2 double-wide modules in it of any kind. It's got the same module support as a 4451. Same one. It's the same router, basically. So we can do either 2 modules, double-wide, or we can do 3 single-wide modules. We cannot do 4, but we can do 3. Reason is we don't have any more 10 gig lanes inside the router. But we can do 3, or 1 double-wide and 2 single-wides for any kind of combination. So we got a lot of scalability out of this box. We also have addressed another thing, which is MaxSec. MaxSec was supposed to be in the 4000 series by some unlucky little misunderstandings between ourselves and engineering and all that. It never happened. So we only have MaxSec on a certain module today on the 4000 series. Here, however, MaxSec is on all the ports. And note another thing here, 10 gig ports. We got 10 gig throughput in this, and we put, in addition to the 4 4451 ports we all know and love, we also put 2 10 gig ports on the side, so you can actually reach the goodies inside the router easily, if you want to. Pretty nice, isn't it? Apart from that, it looks like a pretty much like a standard router on the inside. You can recognize this from my 4000 slides. It looks like a 4451, albeit with a lot more cores on it. This is a 16-core router. It also has more DRAMs capability. You have 32 gigs of DRAM for the control plane. We also added 2 more gigs to the data plane DRAM, which is a fixed DRAM. So we now have 4 gigs. Why do you want to know that? Well, you really don't, but it's there. It's basically for buffers. When you have that kind of traffic loads going through the router, we also need to buffer a lot of more traffic to go into the data plane. Or now to the data plane, of course, to the interfaces. SD-WAN for this one will, of course, come. It's an XE router, so why shouldn't it? But it's one of the newest routers, so we will end up somewhere down in the queue here. We don't know fully when we will get it, but sometime between March and summertime. Eventually, we'll be there sometime with that. So second quarter of calendar year, next calendar year. That's where we'll end up. Okay? Excited? And the price here is not horrendous. It's 24K. It's a little bit more than a 4451. Those customers that I have talked to that require this kind of route, they will look fully okay with that. So yeah, that's good. That's good. So we haven't had any pushback on the price either. Good. So what's going on the 1100 side then? As I said, we know the 1100. We talked about those. These guys are not sitting on their behind doing nothing. I can tell that. They are busy. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out on the 1100. We already have the 1111 8P and 4P, and they're all SD-WAN ready today. You can go out and sell them, put them in an SD-WAN environment. No problem with that. We also talked about in the mini-series the new routers will come out, or has come out, some of them, which is the 1101s. The small ones, first of all, they have a smaller form factor. They can be powered by UPoE. They have less power consumption. They have a very nice, the 1101 4P is like this big. You can put it in a back pocket of a pair of jeans and carry around with you if you want to, easily. And it has the same power as a 4P 1100, the normal one. Same throughput. And the one that has 1101 LTE versions, they are using the new standard you will see moving forward. Forget those antennas that are built into the routers. We don't do that anymore. It's not scalable. So what we're going to do now, moving forward, when we have LTE SKUs, they will always have pluggable modules. So the 1101 are the first ones now with pluggable modules for LTE. Moving forward, this is the standard you'll see. As soon as you have a router with LTE, there will be pluggable modules so that we can actually scale it. Because first of all, in all honesty, LTE is a mess. They got different radios all over the world. In some countries, they've got several different radios in one country, and we can't keep up with it. And it's not really scalable to buy a platform. We have to change it later and so on. What if you change from Cat 4 to Cat 6 and so on? Not scalable. So we decided to skip that and make it a module instead. So when this module, when you change it, this module, oh sorry, this one, next one, yeah. This module, you can, when you change from Cat 4 to Cat 6, yank out the module, put a new one in. You don't have to recertify the entire platform. When you come up with 5G, we don't know what 5G will look like. I bet you the first versions of 5G will not be the one, the standard. So it's good to have someone who can put the module into this router when you introduce the first version of 5G. And just change it up if you want to. So any of those routers basically you have here with that module, they are 5G ready. You can say that if you want to sell it. It's about how sales you want to be, of course. Then we also have the 1109% of those, which is the 1100, which is an extended temperature range. They're made predominantly for those sessions where you have a little bit harsher environment. ATMs, for example, here in the US, where ATMs stand baking in the sun all day or outside a gas station and so on, or point of sales, but they need a little bit more temperature range than they have the normal ones. And we made one that is specifically made for ATM, but it can be used for anything else, of course, with a fixed Cat 4 LTE in it and a smaller version of the LAN switch on it and call the 1101 2P. And we have a bigger one, 1109, the 4P. This guy has wireless LAN, and he's got 2 radios on it. So you can do full-blown application-based active routing over LTE with an SD-WAN solution, for example, using both of those radios at the same time. That's not possible if you have only one radio. You can only do active standby. And you can see we added more stuff. We added now coming out in this month and next month, we have a G.SH DSL version, and we also added an X version with 8 gig of DRAM. Yay! Because this is important. When all you guys selling the customers on Corelli's babies here, the Great Wall stuff, I couldn't say that, sorry. Now I said Great Wall again, sorry. It's huge. Oh man. The enhanced security. Now, if you're going to use that and sell customers on it, you should, because this is a way you go move forward. Bear in mind that you require 8 gigs of DRAM. A regular 1100 today doesn't have 8 gigs. It has 4 gigs and is not upgradable. So if you buy 4 gigs, you're stuck. Right? So you need to talk to customers about this right away, and it's also one heck of a good opportunity for an upsell. Tell them, do you really want to paint yourself into a corner? You don't need it today? Well, things can change pretty quickly. You don't want to be the one who decides on the wrong router. That's pretty good. So go out there and talk about them about this. The X models, anything you see with an X after the numbers, moving forward will be an 8 gig SKU that will accommodate the whole Great Wall thing. But I said it 3 times, sorry. The whole thing with that one. So these will come out in, I think it is December. Otherwise, yeah, I think it was December they come out. So they're orderable now. So go out, make sure that you do. For customers who bought the 4 gig, can't do much about that. You have to upsell them something else. Just get the firewall and the umbrella. Yeah, and all the other good stuff is the 8 gigs. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes, we will. We are working on it.
Yes, with the 4 gigs, the application-aware firewall and umbrella integration is possible. Only for the container-based applications, which are the IPS and the URL filtering, we need this additional 4 gigs, which will total it up to 8 gigs. Clear?
Thank you. I gave me a chance to drink as well. Thank you. Now, these are the plug-in modules. So these are what the plug-in modules look like. The small modules, they're very thin like that. This is the way we're going to move forward, and they support today Cat4 and Cat6 LTEs. Very good innovation. I think that was the right move to do. So did we think we stop here when innovating on the 1100? Nope, we did not. There's more coming out. Yay! We have the 1120 series come out, the 1160 series come out. That's an entire different type of series. This is not how they will look, actually. I realized now I shouldn't put that picture here. This is a regular 1100. They will be smaller than 1100, almost the size of an 1101 series. That one, the very small, lean one, they can be powered by smaller power supplies. They also have anytime they have an LTE, they will, of course, follow a new standard and have the pluggable slot in it. The LTE slot will be pluggable. They have faster CPUs. The 1120s have the same horsepower as an 8-port 1100 with a 1.2 gigs architecture. And the 1160 series has a 1.6, which is twice the horsepower of a 4-port. So we're talking about some pretty good speeds here, these routers, as in options. They come with that. And of course, all of these routers will also have X versions. X is, we realize we need basically the 8 gig versions options across the line. So everything we have now will have an 8 gig option on it. We will, at least we try to do as much as we can. So anything with an accident will come out. This is coming out in the spring. So sort of after March time frame, you will see these routers popping up here. But you can start priming the market for it right now if you want to. Now, since we're on the 1100 topic, we also, on the SD-WAN topic, before I leave that, we also want to look at how we're doing for performance. So we have been trying to test these as quick and soon as possible. We don't have an infinite amount of engineers, unfortunately. That would be good if we had, but we don't. So we have to have it, stagger away here the testings. The testings has gone this way. We have tested really are about to finish the test of everything that has a 4300 type architecture. Anything that has the arranged type architecture on it will, on an ISR side, it's about to get finished and tested now. The one you see here on the far left is one we have already tested, and we have a lot of SKUs to be tested after that. We actually have, I think, as late as last night, we finished the test of the ENCSs already now, so they're also tested. What we have, the different architecture, the 4400 series, they have a slightly different architecture than the 4300 series. They will be on the roadmap. They are all started to be done testing about January. And the remaining XC devices are coming out later than that. And here are this is the result I should be showing here. This is the slide here. How are we done? We said that I've had slides saying that, well, these routers are calling up the same features as IWAN features, and that was not entirely correct, of course. But what we meant by that was saying that it's still an ISR. We're still handling the load in the same way on the same data plane, the same way. So we're not the same features as an IWAN, of course, and not the same way of measuring, so we can't really compare apples to oranges here. Will not be the same thing, so forget what I said about that. Nevertheless, they are still ISRs, and here is basically what we have, the results we have. 2 versions, a high max or almost max packet size version of it, and a iMix type of average fixed packet version 361 to show you somewhere in what vicinity these guys will be if you add load to them, or if you just have it in a regular POC type SD-WAN part. They actually came out better than we thought. We didn't think they would come out this good, so this is actually good news for us. It was pretty good. As you can see, we tested the ASRs as well. ASRs has got a completely different performance, of course. We're now talking in the multi-gig space here. One thing we haven't fully tested up until 4 p.m. last night, the Kingpin, the 1002X wasn't really fully tested here. And you see some things here when you look at this deck afterwards, you see why is that? If you look at 1002X, it has 2 results that is exactly the same. It's not a cut and paste goof or anything. It's because that router has a 4 gig bus from the data plane to the encryption. So when you have IPsec, you're sort of limited to 4 gigs, and that's what you're seeing here. And we also tested the NCS. Pretty good results with the NCS. That's a good SD-WAN box, performance-wise, as it turned out. So take this. This can be given recommendations and for knowing exactly where the customer wants to be, somewhat what they want to use, and so on. Remember that SD-WAN licenses are not really applicable to all this. This is taken Cisco style, Cisco ISR style, old school style, where we do this aggregate. This is all they can do. This is taking the entire data plane load and say we don't care about directions. Whatever the data plane is doing, this is what you see here. Licenses work differently on SD-WAN. We have to take care of that. Licenses work basically, the customer choose how much the customer will do in any direction where you have the highest traffic load. For example, if I expect to have the highest traffic load in the down direction, then about 100 meg, then I choose a 100 meg license. That necessarily means not that the router is limited to 100 meg. That means that the router will have to do more because you also have some upload. Okay. Now 900, and I took these. I'm doing show and tell here. 2 routers. To Hassan's point, if we want to meet the good enough router, if we want to get some good replacement for the lower 800 series, here's what we come up with. These are the 2 last ever classic iOS router you'll see. Long live iOS. Yay. They're higher performing. It's all higher throughput performing. Higher throughput on these routers. I told you 250 megs on the biggest version of it with IPsec. And you can just imagine what this will do if you have unencrypted traffic in that case. We're talking a big jump in performance from a normal 800 series, a big competitor to the good enough Huawei routers and one access router. These are very attractively priced. They're a little bit limited in sort of what the roadmap is, but that's not where we want to compete with this. We're competing with the good enough routers. These will do just good. They have the same feature richness as an iOS Classic. For all those customers who want iOS Classic feature, this is where you want to go. This one here. And you can see this form factor, right? It's almost the same form factor as an 1101. You can almost put it in your jeans pocket. Has to be a pretty big jeans pocket, but still. Some jeans might fit, actually. But it's still really nice. It consumes 30 watts. 30 watts of power supply. You can almost charge it with a cell phone charger, which is really cool. That's a good one to have. I hope this will be our new CVR router, by the way. Hint, IT. Now, some of these platforms also have something else. The Ethernet only and the Ethernet and LTE have this built-in power supply. Yay! Yay! In a small router like this. That is something that customers will love. I love it. I want one of these at home. This is really cool. Those routers will have built-in power supply, the same kick-ass performance, but with the built-in power supply. Pretty good, right? These are coming out already in December. Already in December will you have them coming out. The LTEs will be a little later, but we also have a DSL version. So this is the Ethernet only or the Ethernet LTE. This baby here is where we have the DSL. The DSL will also come out now in December, but we will not have any built-in power supply with DSL. And that's not because we are mean. That's because we couldn't actually make it work to the price point, because DSL is an analog technology and it's very, very sensitive to disturbances. So we got disturbances from the power supply and got interference there with the power supply. So we couldn't actually do it without building a lot of bulky shielding things and so on. So these will have an external power supply, the DSL versions. Very cool. We basically have the difference here from the 1100s. We now will have two choices for you. You have, if you want to replace 800 series, either a 1100 or it's a 900 series. Because they have some difference. Both have higher throughput. They do have higher throughput, both of them. They have different types of device managers. On Web UI on the 1100, we have the classic CCP Express device manager on the classic ones. We, of course, have the different iOSs, classic on one side, iOS XE on the other side. Of course, the 900, since they are iOS Classic, will never have SD-WAN. Forget it. Will not happen. But that's not where we're targeting these. If your customer has any kind of SD-WAN aspirations in the future, this is not the router for the customer. But if you talk about traditional routing, branch routing, competing with good enough routers, this is the router, indeed. And here is basically, we put a little slider to help you with these decisions here. If you do an 890, we still recommend the 1100 version. Or an 819, if you have any kind of those requirements, the full security part of this, if you want to have LTE Advanced, Cat 6 LTE, 300 meg down, you need the 1100 for that. You also, if you want to have any wireless LAN built into the router, you need the 1100 for that, with the Mobility Express and all. These does not even have wireless LAN, and there's no roadmap for wireless LAN either on them. For any vanilla deployment where a typical good enough router compete, these are the ones you should go in with. Classic iOS, very nice price, kick-ass throughput, and it's the same good old iOS that we know and love, and the feature support and the packaging we all know before that. No, you cannot take these two with you home. These are mine. And basically, you have the feature support here. So you basically have different. It's an iOS classic device. You have the good old zone-based firewall, up to 250 megs of IPsec on these guys here on the big one. There are two versions, a 21 and a 31. The 21 will have 150 megs. The 31 will have 250 megs of IPsec. You will not have the G-dots on this. No G-fast, no SHDSL. Will not even be on the roadmap. Normal DSL is what we're doing here. VDSL, ADSL. We only have Cat4, no Cat6 on the roadmap. No wireless LAN on the roadmap. These are good enough routers, and they will stay good enough router, but they are kick-ass good enough routers. Excited? I am. I think it's really cool. Kudos to the guy who made them. Now some words on the ASR1K side. On these big babies here, we will talk about some of the new EPAs we have. This is where we're going now with the ASR1K. Basically, we're not doing much more development on the SPA, the SPA side. Really, we're going with these guys here, the MIP for the EPAs here. So this is where a lot of the development is going right now. We talk about this module here. It basically has a module going in, and it got a pretty good performance. Can take 200 gig EPAs in it, which gives us a throughput of 200 gigs on the outside, but has a 100 gigs channel to the backplane, so you have a 2-to-1 oversubscription. However, you're talking about in the hundreds of gig range here, so this is quite a good piece of performance anyway. What I want to talk about is the new EPAs for this module, really. Because today we have the whole range of EPAs here. We have 100 gig EPA. We have some 40 gig EPAs. And on the 10 and the 1 gig, only the 10 and the 1 gig have MACsec, or have MACsec. So what we want to talk about is now the modules we have come out, the 100 gig EPA with MACsec. It's coming out in next year in the summertime. We'll have that module, full MACsec on 100 gig. We also have, want to remind you that we do have 40 gig EPAs already available with a 2-port and a 1-port with MACsec as well on these guys. So that is something you should know of. This is a good range to say, here's what you have come out, and just in a little more than half year from now, you'll have the 100 gig EPA with full MACsec on it as well, full WAN MACsec on it. That will make a very nice and solid product line for the ASR1Ks with the MACsec part. We also put a little table here for you to understand more of what the different chassis capacity is when it comes to how much throughput can I actually use in a chassis. You cannot slap a module like this anywhere you want to. You still have to look at to be able to how much can I actually expect to get from this chassis. And you can see that the clearest the X chassis are the ones you want to go with because they all have 100 gig slots in them. You also want to talk about the new ESP module, the Embedded Services Processor module, based on the new Procyon chip instead of the Yoda chip. This is the same overall throughput as the old ESP modules had. If you see the 100 and the 200, but this is based on a completely new QFP chip, the Procyon chip, which have greatly enhanced the performance of tough features, of intense features like NAT, like encryption, like firewall, and those greatly improve the Procyon chip. That means that now you can do a 200 gig or 100 gig, but you can do it with higher and tougher services load that you could before. Already today, we will do with the Procyon-based chip, the X-based ESPs, we will do IPsec up to better than 75% of the max performance, almost line rate. And with this is an early version of the code, and with some code changes, with some tweaking of this, we expect this baby here, these two babies, to do IPsec in near line rate in the near future. That is some good IPsec we're talking about here. Definitely a difference compared to the Yoda chip-based ESPs we have today. And these are coming out somewhere in the first half of next year. Can expect them to go out. So you can already now start looking at customer opportunities for these two modules. Some of the message board, and ending with that. First of all, 800 and 890 series, going end of sale. Some of them, not all, but some. So I do want to remind you with this slide that we do have some series that will go end of sale in July next year, and we already announced that one officially to customers. Here is a list for your reference. You know what model that are looking at the end of sale for. Again, not because we're mean, but because we cannot get any components of these modules anymore. And if we cannot in Cisco put a new component in a platform and call it the same thing, that's not allowed. So since we're putting new component in them, we need also to have new SKUs. And here is a golden opportunity to take this, go out to the customer, and start the discussion on the 1100 or the 900 series router. A golden opportunity for this, to use this as a reason for that. The SMUs, the patches. What is a SMU? Software SMU. This is a maintenance fix in which you can solve a problem in the software without having to change the entire iOS. It's a fantastic feature. We promised you this when we started working on Polaris back in the days. We started working on the 16X. We said we'll have patchable fixes in Polaris, and we delivered on that. But we haven't seen anyone using it. Greatly disappointed in you guys here. Come on, you have to use this. This is really cool. We don't have the same feature parity or the same feature breadth as in XR because iOS 6 is not built the same way. It's not built to be restartable the same way as XR is. But we do have a good subset of the same patches you can do in XR and XE as well. So this has been here since last year in July, and almost no one has been using it. So at least keep it in mind and talk to customers about it because this is a good competitive advantage. You can fix stuff in iOS without having to recertify the entire software like the big SPs need to do. Just do this. And also, the new here is really what we come out after 69. Now in July, also, we come up with what we call a hit list restart that we didn't have before. Because yes, we can patch a feature or security issue in iOS without changing the whole software, but we still need to reboot it. That's what we have done prior to 69.1. As of 69.1, at least for some of these features, you can patch them, install them, restart them in the router, and not being able to have to reboot it. You just do it during operation. That is beautiful. All right? You need to talk about that. That's some good competitive advantage. And it's a really good feature here. You also need to talk about, what is that? Talk about trustworthy systems. I'm going, you know, Stefan there again. Of course, I knew we'd bring up trustworthy, okay. But this is a good thing to bring up because we are the only ones in the market that has got this protection. That is protecting what's supposed to be protecting your branch assets, the router. Everyone else has forgotten about the router. We haven't. We are protecting that one. I always tell customers, look at this as it was, the router as a table. You have the router and you're building up sandbags on top of the table to protect yourself from all the baddies. You build up these, and now all these sandbags are up there and you say, yeah, done, I'm safe. But are you really? What about underneath the table? There's no sandbags. You can crawl right through them. That's what we're doing in the router and this trustworthy. We're taking those sandbags, put them under the table, and protecting what's supposed to be protecting the other stuff. Without that, it's pretty meaningless. And believe me, we have some really good features going on here, really good protection. And customers do listen to this. They do listen to this. They're always interested in this. When I talk from my own experience, I do that all day long, talk to customers. So don't forget to bring it up. There are slides here behind what I'm going to show you that shows you more detail to this. Do you have anyone? How many of you guys at GSX watched the Trustworthy demo? Couple. How was that? Pretty cool, right? Yeah, it's a pretty cool demo. The cool thing about it is you don't have to sell it. Because if you sell the router, the customer already have it. We bring it with the routers. There's nothing you need to sell and have a financial discussion about. So do go out and talk about it. And lastly, routing.cisco.com. We plan to be just as good and popular as the switching team with that one. That is our absolute goal. We will be the IKEA of routing. We have everything, except for Allen keys and flat packs. But except for that, we will put everything up here. Everything SD-WAN, everything on the data sheets and the white papers and the performance tests, everything you can think of should be on routing.cisco.com. We will try to learn from the switching team what they do to have these bi-yearly meetings when they make sure nothing is stale and all the data sheets are updated and all stuff. That's our absolute vision. Believe me, we are going to do our best. I even have someone telling that there will be my performance report you saw within cisco.com. It's not, because I'm a slacker. I haven't put it there yet, but I will this week, promise you. So this is one thing we're going to go with as well. So basically, as a little bit takeaway, our 4461 basically responding to two things: performance, higher performance, and higher interface density. 10 gigs of throughput, 7 gigs of IPsec, 2 double-wide modules of any combination of unprecedented scalability for a branch router. 1,100 SKUs coming out with 8 gigs. Anything you see with an X, we have realized this. You will have versions of 8 gigs. Keep an eye out for them as time moves on. 8 gig version have an X to accommodate Corelli's babies here. We have the new SKUs come out, the 1120. You will get higher performance in those ones, smaller size, smaller energy consumption, and we will also move to LTE pluggables moving forward. There will be no more fixed LTE radios. 900s, whenever you meet the good enough router that can kick ass, like really can kick ass, 900 series, with a built-in power supply, yay! You have to do that. Talk about it. This is the one you're going to use when you're going to either compete with those good enough or replace 800 series. The kick-ass ESP from ASR1, everyone wants ASR1K, doing IPsec almost without sacrificing throughput, and what we have an absolute vision is doing we're doing IPsec without sacrificing throughput whatsoever, doing it in the line rate of the actual ESP. We also remember that these guys have worked hard to get you MACsec across the line, even up to the 100 gig modules now, right? And use Trustworthy. That's a good competitive advantage. We should not miss it. Should not miss it. And with that, thanks for listening. Take my 2 babies again. No.
All right.
No, you're not getting it. Mm-mm.
Let's don't be running away with your products yet, because we got some time for Q&A here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have our dedicated 15 minutes. See, this is why we don't tell you guys you have to add time for Q&A in your presentation. We add it on to the end.
I finished right on.
Yes, you guys did excellent.
Probably,
right.
Stefan, you should give away one of your routers for the best question.
My router? No.
Okay, so let's start over here.
Hi, my name is Aton. I'm from Africa, South Africa. I'm a field advisor for Africa. This question or statement is going to be for you, Nikolai. As it is, I had a look at your roadmap. I cannot sell SD-WAN or CH, pardon the code name, because you don't have E1, T1, and DSL in the roadmap. In E1, T1, and DSL is 80% of my customer. So how do I sell SD-WAN?
Okay, so if you take, for example, ENCS, right? If you go to the virtual branch, ENCS has a support for E1, T1, and you can go virtual with that. So if you will run SD-WAN on x86 platform on the virtual side, then you can sell it, right?
Understood, but not every single customer and every single branch is ENCS customer or the branch.
I'm not done. So first part, and we see a lot of customers going to virtual, that's clear, right? So now going to the physical boxes. Your question is about platform support and interface diversity for specific models.
Yes.
Right. And it's a technical question because we need to support models, we need to test it, but it's also a marketing question because you need to set the priorities, right? You cannot test everything and do it in one shot. So
according to your roadmap, it's not on the roadmap. If it's not on the roadmap, I cannot sell it. And if I cannot sell it because my customers are E1, T1, and DSL customers, which is 80% of my market, right? And they're not going to go off that interface for the next 2 to 3 years. So are you not going to see SD-WAN revenue coming from my sector?
Understood.
I'm going to be selling Meraki if that is the case.
Understood. So that's a good feedback. We have Ramesh, who is a product director here. And that's the best question for the PM to address the roadmap item for the interface.
Just step right up to that mic and talk.
So the question is DSL module support on ISR 4K, right?
Yes. The question is about interface diversity. That's a generic question specifically for the ISR 4K.
Sure. The 4K today supports T1, E1, which can be used for data. And then DSL, it has ADSL, VDSL. That's part of the July release. And also the NIM enhanced LTE modules, that is also supported with 4K. Right?
But yes, but it's not on the SD roadmap. Can I show you the slide?
No, I think this is not called out here. We can send the documentation pointer. Already delivered part of July release.
Yeah, so probably what I will do, I will include a special slide covering hardware support as a for your reference slide, because the slide you have is more focused on the software features. And we have a hardware roadmap as well. I think that will help.
It's not clear. I don't know about you, the rest of you, but it's not clear for me. It's just saying to me right now, if I have a look at this slide, tells me that I cannot do SD-WAN on 4K, on E1 and T1 and DSL.
Support is not support. Yeah, I mean, it's also called out in the documentation. We can send the pointer, or Nikolai can share the pointer.
Yeah, so if we've got a slide, we're happy to share it on the VT stuff, and if there's a link, we can share it in the team space. So,
yes.
Okay.
Guys, we'll get the document updated. There is already a document on Sales Connect, which has all of this information. It's called out in a gory amount of detail. We'll make sure that's reflective of this as well.
If you can get me the link,
it should already be there.
I'll get it out in team space, and I'll get it out to everybody else. All right, question on the left, please.
Hi, this is Mohammed Tarat from Egypt. My question is regarding the 1100 and the wireless version of it, and it supports almost all domains except the -I. So is there a -I support on the roadmap? Because I cannot sell it in Egypt or in different countries.
Ooh, that was detailed. Yeah. Anyone here from that wireless? No, I don't think we have anyone here that can answer that question right off the bat. But we have to take it right. You can? I'm going to give it to Gaurav. Gaurav perhaps can answer.
Sorry, which domain you asked about?
-I.
-I is something which we have seen not so much volume, so we didn't kept it in roadmap, but it's easy. If we have a strong business case, we can get it in the next few months. But you need to give us a business case. Because in Wi-Fi, changing domain doesn't take as long time as building a new product. So if we get a good business case, we can definitely do in next few months.
Okay.
So it's just very common, because for everything that's coming up, the wireless, the 4800s, the 1500s, everything is supported except -I. And for everything, I have to build a case for it. and add SW and ask for the part number to be available on the CCW. Even the datasheet, when states that it's supported, it's not available on CCW. For the 4800, I had to fight for 3 months. For the 1500, it's not available yet. And even for the routers, they are not there. I have to build the business case for it. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Point taken. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds like a good BOF question. Bring over here on the right.
Kubilay from Turkey. Do you plan to add more WAN Ethernet interfaces to the low-end ISR series, especially ISR 1K? Because the scenario is in a two-router in a branch scenario where you have 3 circuits of Ethernet. With the addition of T-Log extension, you will end up requiring 3 Ethernet interfaces for the WAN side. And it's really painful to go up to 4331. And you still need to add some LAN interfaces, and it can get really expensive, especially if you don't need those modules and performance.
Okay. Well, we have to bear in mind also that this is a lower end fixed configuration platform that has to be price effective as well. So that's why we stuck to two WAN interfaces uplink. And I'm not sure if there's any plan. I haven't seen any plans for a third WAN interface on this. Actually,
I think we need something like VHs where you have only Ethernet interfaces that can be used as WAN or LAN.
Well, you can use them if you want to, but of course, but pure what we call router port WAN interfaces, we have limited that to 2 if you talk about Ethernet interfaces. Now,
One additional comment on my side, if you're doing T-Log extension, yes, you can use dedicated interfaces from left to right, and the second interface from right to left. Depending on your traffic model, you can just run one interface and do VLANs on it.
Yeah, but you still need 3 WAN interfaces if you have 3 circuits of Ethernet. 2 primaries and 1 for Ethernet coming for 4G, for example, since the coverage problem is on the location.
Yeah.
So the customer will require 3 interfaces, which means 2 interfaces for single router and 1 for the T-Log. It makes 3. And the bandwidth requirement is just 5, 10 megs or something like that.
Which is good, because otherwise the bandwidth requirement will force you to use additional interface. If it's too much, then you will need 2, right?
I will need 3.
okay.
No, I mean 2 for the T-Log extension instead of 1.
we don't.
Mike.
But
Mike,
I think
we
it still
can't hear you.
requires 1 interface, not a LAN interface. LAN interface cannot. So GRE is supported on LAN interfaces for T-Log extension. I'm not aware of that.
Mark.
You guys.
So, hello.
Hello, Mike. Go ahead.
Hey, so so T-Lock extension wise, for my customer, what we're doing is we're running into that same problem. So what we're doing is southbound. We're actually putting it down in the switch. So the LTE backup connection actually comes in through the switch through a sub interface, and then we're also doing the T-locks through there as well as with separate sub interfaces.
This is what I'm right now doing with the customer, but it looks weird to connect all your WAN interfaces back into your LAN switch to be able to have the sub interfacing.
Yeah,
I'm implementing the same solution right now.
Yeah, The only there is a caveat there, and the BU is working on that, which is you can't have that as a path of last resort, which actually physically hard shuts the interface if you keep it that way. So you just have to do T-log preferences at that point.
Exactly, and also some QoS issues with sub interfaces when it comes to shaping and etc. Something.
Yes.
On
Yeah.
roadmap.
Yep.
Okay, guys.
We need something.
Let's.
You have the PMs right behind you, staying and listen to you, so you can.
Question on the left, please.
Hi, SD1 security question. In terms of the next year becoming released in November, about the ISR 1000 routers, are you able to keep the zone-based file deployment on those equipments after this release, or are you able to do as well application file on that one?
You don't have to include application when you configure the firewall. You could just leave it as firewall, stateful firewall configuration, yes.
You're going to have 2 different models, right? So it's a zone-based file deployment and also the application file deployment. How is it going to be different between those? Because maybe you have ISR 1000 4 gig of memory, and the ISR 1000 for 8 gig of memory, but the same single pane of glass to
Absolutely.
configure?
Absolutely. Same single pane of glass. On the ones with the 4 gig, you will only configure the firewall piece. It's again the exact same screen. You will not configure the application piece or the application tab. You wouldn't configure that if you don't need it. But the 4 gig will support the stateful firewall, which is application aware. The additional 4 gig that we ask is only for container-based applications, which are the IPS and the on-box URL filtering. If you need those two, only then we go for the additional 4 gigs of DRAM.
Okay, thanks.
Question on the right here.
Hi, Lee Ramirez. I'm a Viptela sales engineer, and I'm getting more and more questions in the field about what's happening to the vEdge. Seems like the focus is mostly on the C-Edge product line, and maybe for like the last 6 months, the vEdge manufacturing and shipping has just been completely plagued. And even on Stefan's beautiful product portfolio slide, I didn't notice the vEdge 5K there. Maybe I missed it. So just wondering, is the writing on the wall, or what do we start telling customers?
Right. So I have a technical view on that, but I'll let Ramesh answer.
I figured this question would come up. The short of it is there is an active innovation roadmap on vEdge. There are really two parts to the solution, right? As you know, there is a control plane solution and a management plane solution. And then there is what happens on the data plane, right? Data plane certainly will be dictated by what you can support. So certain things like Great Wall, all of those capabilities require enhanced processing power on the device, and so naturally we can't fit those things. And same thing for things like AppQoE and caching and a bunch of other capabilities, right? And so naturally there'll be a fork in the road, and we are at that point right now where the vEdge is going to be constrained in terms of what it can deliver with respect to data plane capabilities. Everything that we're doing on vManage and all of the control plane will be equally applicable to both, right? Short of it is, vEdge will continue to have a roadmap of its own. It may not be as sophisticated and as it will be a subset, let's say, of what the XE roadmap looks like, right? There's been lots and lots of questions about, hey, are you going to vEdge, EOL the vEdge? The short answer is no. It is an active product in the portfolio. We have 50,000 plus endpoints deployed, thanks to all of you, and we'll continue to use that, right? At the same time, new capabilities like Great Wall, like AppQoE, and a bunch of other things that we can take advantage of with the ISR, we'll continue to do that. The reason you don't see a vEdge roadmap is because the vEdge successor to the vEdge is really the ISR. Why would we want to go build another vEdge of sorts, right? And so we will consolidate the thread down to what the ISR can support, and that'll be the successor. Oh yeah, manufacturing shipping issues. Yeah, so we've had a pretty bumpy ride with respect to supply chain and availability and product quality and so forth. Many of those issues have been addressed, but we are still behind the 8 ball on supply chain. There is a get well date, which is end of November, after which we should see supply go to what it was probably about a year ago, and really ramping from there. So from now till about end of November, which is about 6 weeks, you will be supply constrained, but then after that it should get better.
Okay, we're running late, but if you've got product questions for these guys, let's answer them. If you have design questions, we have specific design breakouts. I want to hold those questions till that, but let's really quickly go through the last couple questions here.
So I started to have a lot of requests for high density 10 gig port router, like 16 port and over. So right now I need to position like ASR 9001, NCS 540 or 5501. Some customers are okay with XR, but a lot of them would like to stick to an enterprise iOS XC style. No need of firewall and bar AVC kind of stuff. Just pure 16 port and over enterprise router, 10 gigs.
Okay, 16 port gig, somewhere in the
10 gigs.
range.
10
gig.
16, 10 gigs.
10 gig.
And
10
what do we
gigs.
got?
Any plan?
Nope. Probably, I hear you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, for ISRs. Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Well, on the other side of the room, too.
There are some things that we're looking at. We don't have anything ready to show you today, but there are some platforms we're looking at with high-density 10-gig interfaces with perhaps a reduced set of features to get higher bandwidth. So if you have any specific questions, let's talk, and I can let you know what's sort of on the way.
Okay. Hand that mic back, please. Quickly.
Hey, do we have any plan to support PnP on-premises deployment, as we have with ZTP server and in the Viptela?
So right now we're doing PnP on the cloud base. So we go to devicehelpercisco.com, and your question is, can we do it on-prem? What we will bring in November, that's kind of USB option. So you'll plug in USB stick, and then that will be a day zero configuration.
No zero touch, right? You have the...
Yes, that will be USB touch.
No plan to create an PnP application locally?
Not for November, not for March. But that will be an valuable input for us for the roadmap later on.
Yeah, this is a customer requirement. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The last question right there. No more.
Okay. Hi, I am Ricardo Duque from GVE. My question is about if there are any plan to support industrial routing or industrial routers with SD-WAN features.
Well, there are plans to do an XC-based industrial router. So I haven't been involved in that. While I haven't been involved in that, our absolute goal is to have SD-WAN capability on everything that's XC. But I can't tell that that's what we're planning, but I know that the plans are now to have an industrial-based router, XC-based. So I would assume that's assuming me personally, that it will also get SD-WAN support.
Stefan,
that's the best I can do.
Quick comment.
Let me answer that. So there's some initial discussions that have started with the IoT team on this. So as Stefan said, there is an XC-based IoT, industrial IoT router coming out. Initial discussions have started. We'd be happy to get kind of business case from folks in this room to figure out how we would prioritize this. And lastly, to end this, I just want to let you guys know that the latest version of 16.9.3 and 18.3.3 is also out, which is the XC SD-WAN. So, I was hoping it would come out the day of the VT, and it did. So you guys should absolutely use that for XC SD-WAN, POCs, POVs going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Great questions. We're into our break, so we've got about 8 minutes left. We will start on time in this next session, so quickly do whatever you need to do, get whatever you need to get. Meet back here, quarter of. Thank you.